A to Z Mysteries, Super Edition 2, Mayflower Treasure Hunt by Ron Roy. Chapter 6. Dink landed on the straw mattresses and fell backward onto the wooden deck. He knew he was on the very bottom of the boat. The wood felt cold and slimy under his fingers. He tried not to think about what he was touching. He moved out of the way and looked up. "Come on, it's okay," he whispered. Ruth Rose jumped next, and Dink helped steady her landing. "Come on, Josh," she said. Dink could see Josh's silhouette against the moonlight behind him. Suddenly, his head vanished. Dink froze. Could the old woman have grabbed him? "Josh!" Dink gasped. And then Josh was falling through the air. He landed with a whump on the top mattress. "I think she's on the boat," Josh whispered. "I heard footsteps." The kids grabbed a couple of mattresses and dragged them into a far corner. "She must be looking for us," Dink said. "If she notices the open grate, she'll know we're down here," Ruth Rose said. They sat and stared at the open space in the deck above them. Dink could barely breathe. "She must know what we found, and she wants it," he said, keeping his voice to a whisper. "How would she know?" Josh asked. "She might have seen us dig it up," Ruth Rose said. Dink remembered his surprise at seeing the old woman on the bench while they'd been digging. Suddenly, Ruth Rose gasped. She pointed at the rim of the opening over their heads. A dark shape was moving slowly around the edge. Dink thought it was the woman, but the shape was too small to be her head. "It's a rat," Josh choked out. "What does it want?" asked Ruth Rose, wriggling closer to the boys. Josh dug the M&M's bag out of his pocket. He stood up and walked beneath the opening. Using his best pitch, he threw the candy up and out of the hold. The rat disappeared. "Aren't you glad I didn't feed those to the seagulls?" Josh asked Ruth Rose. "You're my hero," she said. The kids sat huddled together. Dink was shivering. "Guys, how will we get out of here?" Ruth Rose asked into the darkness. "I didn't see a ladder when we were here this morning." "I have no idea," Josh said. Dink thought he heard something. He strained his ears, keeping his eyes locked on the opening. They all heard the next sound, footsteps coming down the stairs from the top deck. A head and silhouette appeared over the edge. Dink shoved himself as close to the wall behind him as he could. "I know you're down there," a hoarse voice said, floating into the hold. "And there's only one way out. I'm kneeling on the rope ladder." Dink didn't recognize the voice. "Do exactly as I say, and I'll drop the ladder for you," the voice went on. "I'm going to lower a basket, put the jewels in it, and the next thing I send down will be the ladder." The voice paused. Dink could tell that Josh and Ruth Rose were trembling. "If I don't get the jewels, you'll stay here all night, maybe longer," the voice said. "Pretty soon the rats will discover you, and we'll do it," Ruth Rose suddenly cried out. "I have the leather bag and the jewels. It's a necklace. You can have it. Just promise you'll let us out." Dink had never heard Ruth Rose sound so frightened. He could feel her pulling something from her sweatshirt pouch. She dropped it in the darkness, and he heard her fingers scrabbling to find it again. A basket appeared over their heads, tied to the end of a rope. It landed on the mattress pile. "Do it now," the voice said, "or you'll miss your Thanksgiving dinner." Ruth Rose crawled over to the basket. Okay, the necklace is in the basket. Now you have to let us out, Ruth Rose yelled toward the opening. The kids watched the basket rise and disappear. Ruth Rose came back and huddled on the mattress. Sorry, guys, she said. I had to give it to her, or we'd never get out of here. They heard laughter from above. A moment later, the rope ladder flew down. It smacked loudly on a mattress. Dink heard something else land. Whatever it was bounced from the mattress to the wood deck. Dink hoped it wasn't the rat, looking for more of Josh's M&Ms. The kids stared at the rope ladder. No one moved. Dink felt sick at the thought that the old woman was still up there, watching for them to climb out of the hole. They waited in the dark. Should we go? Ruth Rose asked. Yeah, I'm out of here, Josh said. She must have taken off by now. Dink held the bottom rung of the rope ladder as Josh and then Ruth Rose climbed up. Dink went up last, the ladder swinging as he climbed. They pulled the ladder up and piled it next to the opening. Then they tugged the grate back into place. It must be after 6 by now, Dink said as the kids scrambled off the Mayflower too. My mom is going to freak. They climbed the fence and ran toward the hotel for the second time that night. Now that the snow had almost stopped, a bright moon shone from between the clouds. Dink would have enjoyed the scene if he hadn't been so scared. This time, the woman waiting inside the hotel lobby was Dink's mother. She ran toward the kids as they burst into the lobby, out of breath and dirty from being in the hold. Donald David Duncan, where have you been? His mother asked. Her voice shook with worry. I've been looking all over town for you. Do you remember we agreed on 5 o'clock? She checked her watch. It's well after 6. Dink felt his face turn red. He didn't know where to start with his story. I'm sorry, Mom, he finally said. Could we go upstairs? I'm really tired and hungry. We have a lot to tell you. Dink's mother wrinkled her nose. Then she grinned. You 3 smell, she said. Hot showers first. Then I'll call down for some food.